Arkansas does it. They finally put together the game that Jake always believed they could as they defeat the Kentucky Wildcats at Rupp Arena by a score of 88-73. This is Arkansas basketball recap. I'm Dana Price. That's Jacob Price. This was the one, man. I mean, I have to believe that you're coming in here saying this is the one. This is the one you wanted. No letting go of the rope. No long lapses. This was the one.
It's definitely was. I mean, it's honestly it's even in a different way though. Like I could always imagine, any team can get hot shooting and just have a really hot offensive night, but they did so many things well tonight. Like it wasn't even like that they shot amazing. They
Dude,
did
it's
hit.
the flow you're always talking about, and they stepped onto the court and they just got into that flow, and that's just how it was.
Yeah, because it really was infectious. It wasn't one guy. Like good luck picking player of the game. I mean, I guess Anthony Black, but
I
like
think it's if you look at the stat, it's Anthony Black. I mean,
But if you look at like it was the passes, the catches, the blocks, the
the
recovery,
defensive anticipation.
the diving after rebounds, the scrapping. I mean,
I mean,
it's
did it look like Arkansas wanted this game like way more than Kentucky did? I mean, I'm sure they wanted it. I'm not trying to say that Kentucky doesn't want to win, but I just felt like Arkansas came out with an intensity that Kentucky found difficult to match.
yeah, honestly, dude, I'm actually really kind of shocked that they played that well. Like in the face of that crowd,
Mm-hmm.
because that crowd, I mean, first, I mean, they suck for leaving with 4 minutes to go. When it's still a 14-point game. I mean, I know it's not likely, but I wasn't ready to leave. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't sure the Hogs were going to
Mm-hmm.
win. And it's like, but in the first half, that crowd did try to pull them through. Like they took any chance to grab onto any little two bucket run that the Kentucky was going after, and they tried to get them to snow us under. And like I mean, it got loud in there where like the announcers were having a hard time. They're having to,
Mm-hmm.
you can always tell when like the announcers are having to yell all of a sudden. And I don't know how the Hogs did just, like I said, played with more energy than they did with that crowd. It's
Yeah.
so that doesn't happen very often in all of college basketball. It doesn't happen that many times a year where a team goes into a hostile environment and plays with more energy. There's teams that win because they're better. You know what I mean? There's teams that go into hostile environments and overcome it just because they're just better, or they just play really well that night. But to play with the way we did, where it's like it looked like that was our crowd. Like
Yeah.
we had more energy, we were faster to the ball, we were scrappier. I mean, felt like everything that we were did, like they were playing frustrated and kind of behind, and like they were. I mean, especially Shebue, he was just like making silly fouls, making mistakes, and I'm just really impressed with our guys because
I'm impressed with the guys. I'm impressed with Muss. I mean, dude, Muss had a game plan. I mean, the guys got to execute it, but I mean, it sure looked like they did, and that game plan was good.
yeah, and like you said, I mean, it was a good game plan. I thought they like in just the way that they came out and their plan, and I thought that it was good enough to for us to win by like 4 or 5, 6 points. But the way that they executed on defense and offense, the meticulousness. I mean, there was so many things that they did well that I can't remember all the things they did well.
Well,
Like
here's the thing. What was the score what were we up 1 or 2 at halftime? What was it? What were we up by one?
one, yeah,
And you're like, I mean, and that, by the way, I'll take that. If you said, "Hey, will you take being up by one at halftime?" I'll be like, "Heck yeah, I'll take it at Rupp Arena." Are you
yeah.
kidding me? The second half, that's the thing. That's the thing that's crazy about this game is the first half we're up by one. You felt like Arkansas outplayed them by more than one, but you're like, hey, you're on the road. Hey, I feel like I'll take it. The second half, dude. I mean, the second half was a clinic. I mean, Arkansas looked so good the second half.
Yeah, and the reason it was so surprising too is because the first half they played well, and they played really well. I mean, there were so many times I was watching, I was like, man, I don't know if these guys are going to have anything left in the second half
Yeah,
because
you
of,
almost had this thing where you're like, can they play any better? I don't know if they can play any better than that. We're only up by one. That's about as good
and
half basketball as you can play.
they were having to do well, there was one particular play, like I said, there was so many times where I went, I want to mention that, but like there was too many. So there was one play I was watching Anthony Black on defense, and he had to switch and chase so many different guys on one possession on defense. I mean, it was just constant, like him just running and then chasing, then getting screened, and then trying to jump out at that guy. And then at the end of it all, he like barely turns around and someone hands him the ball. You know what I mean? And it's like now it's time to go do something on offense. And I was just like, can they do this in the second half? And they played even better in the second half.
Well, because the first half you had some stuff you're like, well, I mean, if Jordan Walsh is gonna like just have to let it rip at the shot clock and just shoot, knock down a 30-foot three. And if you're gonna have, Devo had to do some stuff. Devo made some tough shots, and like there was that kind of stuff happening. And you're up by one, and you're like, I don't know, can you replicate that? And the answer was, well, what if we don't replicate that? But Anthony Black just steals the ball every time they have it and just goes and dunks it. We'll just how about that?
And it's hard to put my finger on exactly what I'm trying to say, but there were in any given game, you know, when in within the process of the game, there's you're presented with a variety of opportunities.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And how quickly you can analyze those opportunities and then execute, decide which avenue to take, which opportunity to take, whether or not the risk to reward ratio on that pass, on that defensive risk, whatever it is, on trying to undercut that guy and get that rebound, the how quickly you're able to make those decisions and how right those decisions are when you gamble and stuff is different every game. And it felt like in this game, every one of the high risk, like where the window was narrow for success and it was pretty wide, where it's like crazy pass or a really difficult falling away shot. I felt like we executed perfect on all of those.
Mm-hmm.
There was a million times I was like, oh, there's no way he's going to catch that pass. Well, he caught it, but there's no way he's going to be able to finish from that angle. You know what I mean? And there was like 20 of those and they all finished them somehow. Now, some of them were even like kind of lucky, like you get like, the ball bounces in a few times, but there was a lot of them where like those guys just and it was everybody. It was the Mitchells, it was Devo, it was Walsh, it was Council, it was Black. Like all those guys had their moments, and when they presented themselves, really the only time. I mean, I feel bad because Graham didn't play poorly, but when Graham came in, that was the only time where we actually even kind of like had a few mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
both defensively and offensively. And he did a few things well, but there was a few things where we kind of had a few possessions where they kind of started to get pumped and we made a few mistakes. With the exception of that brief little window, they were flawless.
Yeah, they really were. I mean, the we only, I mean, Pinion played a little bit. Graham played a little bit. I mean, he really played. Six guys logged the vast majority of the minutes here. It the job that they did on Oscar Tshiebwe was, I mean, they were just making his life miserable. I tell you what, man, the Mitchell twins have been really big down in this. I mean, you got to start. Remember, we started the SEC play 1-5. We're now 6-5, right? So, what's happening there? And sometimes it doesn't always show up. Mikal had 15 points tonight, but it doesn't always show up in the stat line. But man, they've been really big, I think, in that turnaround and what we're doing now. Because, and for a long time, Makai was starting and playing a lot of minutes. Some games Mikal didn't even play. Mikal is now playing a lot more minutes than Makai. And I think the reason is that Mikal is such a good shot blocker and rim protector, and that has just been huge, man. I mean, you're talking about a dude that had 7 blocks last game and had 5 blocks. I mean, this dude's got 12 blocks in 2 games against big dudes.
Yeah, and some of these he's got that many blocks, but then he's also got like another half a dozen blocks that turn into jump balls that don't
Hmm.
show up on the stat sheet as
Yeah.
blocks, but they basically are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
He's
um,
got great timing, man. Like, cause he's a big guy, but he's not like a 7'3" guy or something. You know, he's a 6'10" center, you know, but he's, I think his defense in the post has been really big. I think it's really helped.
yeah, he erased some layups that when they a few times that like I said, because not all shots are equal, not all blocks are equal. He kind of killed some of their runs on some, where they were like got a shot, got within two. This is mostly in the first half where and then they were about to make another one to take the lead or something, and he'd erase a reverse layup that just really was helpful. And even some of those things that he did early on Oscar Shibwe, tying him up, not letting him
Just
get
getting him frustrated, man.
yeah, man, and it just he didn't ever let him get comfortable. It's like you don't want something like said. It just takes how it is. It just takes a few buckets, and you get that guy
Mhm.
feeling himself and getting the zone. And Oscar Shibwe never got in the zone. He never.
No,
He was just frustrated the whole night. And yeah, dude. Like I said, I mean, I don't know what to say. Like I said, I think it's a
it's great.
simplistic thing. Like there's too many things. There's nothing they could have done better. So
No, it was really good. I mean, if you look at some of these stats too, man, shooting 83% from the free throw line, 20 to 24. It's great.
that's what I mean.
Uh,
Even free throw
dude,
shooting.
how about this? Like, if you told me like we were gonna beat Kentucky by 15, but we were only gonna shoot 9 threes,
That's another thing. So the way they won, they didn't just shoot up threes and they all fell in. You know what I mean?
we shot 4 of 9. I mean, I love the fact that we beat Kentucky by 15 and only shot 9 threes. I love it.
How many
It's not what we're
shots
gonna do.
did we take in the paint? What percentage of our shots were from the paint?
Well, I mean, we shot 51 shots. 9 were from three. So apparently we took 42 of them in the paint.
Yeah, I mean there was a couple of long jump
I mean,
shots in
dude,
there,
we
but
shot 62.7% from the floor for the
that's because
game.
they're dunks and bunnies. I mean, although difficult bunnies.
Yeah. And Mitchell and Mackay hitting 2 15-foot jump shots, one right. I mean, dude, like crazy stuff like that, where it's just like Mikkel's gonna. I guess it was Mikkel that did that. Just let me just. I got this at the buzzer, dude. Let me shoot
And
this thing.
and the fact that it couldn't have been more close to being off
No,
his hand. And
no.
that was I mean, that's sometimes you need a few things to go your way, and
Mm-hmm.
it was just
I thought Devo played really good. You know, Devo was Devo had 15 points. He only shot 2 threes. It is so why you could tell that they didn't want him to shoot. It's like you
mm,
would not. I would have not believed you if you told me
he was
5 games.
stretching the defense.
Yeah, 5 games into the season. Don't worry, bro. They're gonna have someone like face guarding Devo on the perimeter because they don't want him to get any threes off. I'd be like, what are you talking about? But they were, dude. They did not want him getting loose. And to Devo's credit, he didn't force it. He shot two. He
Mm-mm.
was 1 of 2. You know?
He shot and one of those he kind of forced, but yeah, they didn't give him a lot of good looks, so he didn't take a lot of bad looks.
Well, what he did is he's like, "Oh, you're gonna guard me this close? I will go get to my spot, and I'll just revert back to my old self, and I'll just get these mid range." And his mid range shot was wet, dude.
Well, and then the thing is that we actually didn't take a lot of we worked the ball around a lot, and we got so many shots moving towards the basket.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why you see Anthony Black's
Yeah, dude,
numbers where they are, because that's the
give me
way he
that,
scores.
give me 19 assists to 11 turnovers.
Yeah, the turnovers, dude. Like we just didn't. We were so much tighter with the ball.
Mm-hmm.
None
Yeah,
of that silly stuff. The only time the offense really bogged down at all was just when we slowed it down to kill the clock. You know what I
yeah.
mean? The rest of the time, the ball was popping. Um, those guys,
It's a huge win, dude. I know Kentucky is like, you know, they're a tournament team right now, but they're not, they're not the greatest Kentucky team of all time. But it's still, Arkansas with the injuries they've had and they're trying to figure it out, and you have to go into that place. You don't want to downplay it. It's a big win. I mean, this is a win that if you looked at the schedule and I was talking about what you have to do, I had this one as a loss. As
mhm.
I was figuring out where's the pathway. Man, it just really helps you so much to get that one.
Yeah. Now you're taking, like I said, I mean, you're taking your destiny back into your own hands with wins
Mm-hmm.
like this.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, don't want to overhype it. We're still got a lot a hard schedule ahead, but I mean, you
One game at a
can't
time,
ask for
and
anything better.
you got a big one. This was a big one, dude.
Well, and it's just the fact that you this game was different than, I mean, I think the last game we talked about, we're like, well, hey, a win's a win. You can only win one game at a time. But I got to tell you, they still have the same problems they've been having. There was nothing different about that game.
this was
They
different.
tried they tried to lose that game. If one or two things go the wrong way, they could lose that game. It's like this game looked totally different. Like, and I'm not saying they're going to play like this every time, but that's the game I've been looking for, where it's like, oh, that team could win a game, some of the games in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
That team in that game, if they play like that, could beat Tennessee. You know, I mean, like
Yeah,
you
if
start
they
to
play,
see how you could win some of these games.
they can beat they not that they would or will, but they could beat anybody. You can beat anyone playing like that.
Hmm.
You're in the game. If you're playing like that, you're in the game against any. I don't care who it is against anybody. And so you know, and Eric Musselman just like man, Calipari's got to be hating him, man. He's got Calipari's number.
Yeah, really, huh? And it's so
I
so weird.
mean, I mean, he's got he's that's I don't know. Does anyone have his number like Muss does in the conference right now? Because what was he? I don't know what his record is. He's won the last three, and like I mean, yeah, dude,
Is that right?
he's got to figure it out. Uh, Anthony Black, I thought Anthony Black was really great tonight. And you could tell
That's,
he's still dinged up, but like man, he
mhm.
was it was all out on the floor. Um, I think you saw, unfortunately, because you see these mock drafts. I just saw one came out. Another one came out yesterday that I saw, and he was going to the Oklahoma City Thunder at 10 in this mock draft. But um, you saw glimpses of it tonight, man. Like you saw some of the vision and stuff. I mean, he had some stuff that you're like, that's that's nasty, and that's because you're taller. I mean, that one pass where he like they kicked it out to him, he just caught it and just threw it on a rope dime down to the Mitchell twin.
And
Like,
almost, and yeah, it's because you and even that's like one of those plays, one of those many plays where it's like, oh, the clock's ticking down. There's 2 seconds on the clock. Whoever had the ball before Black is dribbling like baseline. You're like, well, this is about to be an ugly shot, and then he kicks it out to Black, and you're like, here we go. Here, just chuck something up there, I guess. And instead, it turns from like where you're like, I guess you're just gonna throw up some bull crap
mm,
long brick. Instead, it turns into a laser pass into a point blank dunk. You know, it's
yeah,
like,
and he had another play too where he just dribbled down into like kind of into the lane and got into the teeth of the defense, and just because he's just so big, dude, and just like the defense kind of collapsed around him, and he got in there and just knew what he was doing with it. I mean, just got in there and just like threw it up and like had you like just dunk on your face. And I like that stuff. I mean, Anthony Black's numbers. I mean, he had 19 points. He was 8 of 15. Um, he had 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 steals, 1 block. I mean, just stuffing
I
it
mean,
up, dude.
the play that personified the whole night to me, and it was because it was like four of these plays that I'm talking about where like everybody executed in these tiny windows to make a perfect play, was in the first half, near the end of the first half, when Mitchell got on the floor, rolled on that ball, didn't call a timeout, instead chucked it to Black, I think. No, to whoever it was, who threw it up to Devo, who threw it over to Council, who threw it up to Black for the
Mm-hmm.
dunk. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And it was like very quick. I don't know if
Dude,
the
and
ball ever. I don't. I don't
that's some flow right there because that oop that Council through the Black right there was so quick. I don't even know how you do that. I mean, I played a lot of basketball. I don't even know how you catch a ball and like touch pass oop it like and on the run and this dude just comes out of nowhere and just I mean that's just it's all like you're connected.
yeah, that's they were flowing, man. I mean, yeah, any one of those ones. I just remember on that play, I was like, oh no, he's gonna lose the ball. Okay, he's got it. Oh, that passes too fast. That passes. no, he's gonna go over the backboard, and it's like turns into a dunk, and it's like each one of those. I don't think the ball even touched the floor.
Yeah, the way they started the second half, where I mean, it started basically where Anthony Black just had two steal run out dunks in a row. And then Devo got a steal run out layup, and then Cal had to call timeout. I mean, it was just like right from the jump, and you're like, oh man, like we're just gonna go. We're gonna go on a 6-0 run off all turnovers into points, into layups or dunks.
I actually missed the first 5 minutes because I just had it recorded, and
Yes, that's yeah. I was watching it live, so I just had to log on and watch it on the ESPN app. I watched the first until it came on TV.
yeah, I turned it on like 10 minutes late,
What was it? 5-5.
and it was 5-5. Yeah.
Yeah,
What did I miss? Did they play good right from the start?
they did. Yeah, this came out good. I mean, came out. Council hit a three to start the game. Black got an and one layup, and made the free throw. I think it was 6-5 maybe or something. Maybe I don't know when it came on, but those are the first two buckets. The first two buckets were the first bucket of the game was a Council three, and then Anthony Black and one layup. Yeah, but yeah, that was the thing, man. Is they just maybe that brief little lull when Graham was in. I don't want to talk about this. Was just I don't know if this was a great game for him because they had Sheboy and those guys. You needed the Mitchell twins physicality in there, so that's fine. You're there's games where it's going to work for you. But other than
Yeah, you
that,
can just see even
there just wasn't
those
any.
guys' bodies weren't
Yeah,
built for Graham to push them around. You know what I mean?
no,
And even then, like that section, it's not like when Graham came in, we played bad.
no,
We just didn't play as good. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like they got there was two plays that, I mean, I don't know if it was all Graham's fault, but he ended up in a spin cycle and they got two dunks. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And then on the other end, during one of those plays, he got a dunk,
yeah.
and but he
And
got the ball taken.
he got a charge, but then he went back and got it and drew a charge. He went
Yeah,
back and got it back. So
yeah.
yeah, he didn't play
Like I said,
bad or anything.
that was kind of a wash.
Yeah. Yeah. But they're really, yeah, there was just no letting go of the rope this game, man. I mean, like Kentucky went on like little mini runs or whatever, but it wasn't because Arkansas was playing bad. It's because it's basketball and that happens. There was no time where you felt like Arkansas was starting to lose it.
Mm-mm.
They were steady the whole time. Muss has got to be really encouraged, man. He's got to feel like, man, if we can bottle that up, like we could, like, and that stuff is like that too, because when you do something like that, it does help you believe. I mean, you get that confidence going. You start to think that you can step on the court and do that and replicate that and do that again. It's the same thing that happens when the opposite happens and everything's falling apart. You start to not wonder if it's going to happen for you. So yeah, it's not just the win, but playing the way they did is so positive for them going forward. I think just psychologically and just for their confidence, just knowing like what they could be, when it's all going. And it looked good, when it's all going. I thought Jordan Walsh played really well. I thought he brought a lot of energy. I mean, he was perfect. He was 4 of 4. He had 13
Hmm.
points, made every shot he took. And he's just a pest, dude. I mean, he's just long and pesty. And I thought one of the plays that like was also, you talked about the play where Mitchell got on the floor. There's that other loose ball where Anthony Black, who I know you could tell, dude, his foot's bothering him, his knees bothering him. He's switching out shoes, all kinds of stuff. He's diving on the floor just like in a straight wrestling match with some dude over a loose ball.
Hmm.
Uh, that's dude. I
And well,
respect. I respect it.
even that part, like we didn't. The game had an opportunity to get chippy, and we didn't get petty or cheap. And there was there was a little bit of mouthiness and a few opportunities for guys to throw an extra little shoulder. But our guys kept, like, if they knocked someone down, kind of reaching down and helping them up, and just they didn't give Kentucky's fans or their players any unnecessary fuel by
Mm,
doing something stupid. You know what I mean? And there was definitely an opportunity to, especially between Sheboy and the Mitchell brothers, because there was some shoving and some mouthing,
mm,
but they didn't let it get out of hand and let it hurt the team.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, everything about him was great, and really just proud of that team and that coaching staff, because I mean, like I said, we're not out of the woods yet. Don't know what this could do, but for the place that we were in our SEC start, for them to be able to never quit is like, I mean, they could have quit when
Mm-hmm.
lost 3 games in a row, and then when you lost 4 games in a row, and it's like they all of those games that they lost. I mean, we talked about every one of them. It's like they could have easily won, and I never questioned their effort as on a whole. You know what I mean? I mean, at times we're like, why are they not finishing these games? But every game they came out and they never seemed like they'd quit on the season, or they're like, well,
Mm-hmm.
we got guys hurt, and looks like it looks like uh, Nick Smith's not going to come. He's probably just going to go to the NBA. I guess this season isn't what we thought it was. I guess I'll, you know what I mean, pack it in and just have a good time, I guess, for the
I
rest of the
gotta
season.
believe that a lot of that is Devo, because it does seem that, like, so I think that Mitchell, Mikal Mitchell has been a big part of the sort of turning things around too. But I mean, I think the obvious thing that's been a part of this is Devo. I mean, Devo, I don't know what's going on in the locker room and stuff, but like something changed with him. And I mean, this is Devo's team, and I don't know if it was just time for him to do that. And he's just playing different, man.
Mhm.
He elevated his game, and I think his leadership. He called timeout tonight. Like, I saw him do it again, like where he did it, and must never calls timeout, and he called timeout because he just didn't like something that was going on, and he wanted to go talk about it. Um, it seems like that was a bit. It seems like that's a big part of it. Is that Devo's decided that hey, I'm not, and he's the guy that's been there before, man. Like he's lost games in a row, and he's had guys get injured, um, and seen what you can do if you can figure it out, And he needs to be that guy, and I really think he has been.
Well, and two, I mean, and I know that there's selfishness involved in playing well for college kids too, because they are also, as well as the prospects as well as players, so they want to play well too. But the style that Muss requires of his players is not a vain style. So
Mm-hmm.
like it's hard for these guys to get playing time if they're just going to try to showboat and put up numbers and for themselves. And you've got to, like, while I agree with you that Devo is like he's the one that's pulling this team along, I credit the individual players, especially the ones that are on NBA scouting reports and stuff, for not when you season starts to go south on you, you have a career prospect ahead of you where you can make some money, you know, in to be determined how successful, but you've got people looking at you in that. It would be easy for, especially when you're getting injured and you're just struggling, and Muss is asking you just to go out there and play crazy defense. That's what you have to do. You know what I mean? It's like, um, credit them for not being selfish and ever just kind of like being like, I think I'll just play on offense, play half speed on defense, and get out of this thing with my knees and back
Mm-hmm.
intact. You know what I mean? And like I said, for Black and Walsh and the guys that do have and Council, like none of those guys have packed it in on any level. And here we are,
Yeah.
game over 500.
Yeah, I love it, man. It's really good. Hey, I hope Nick Smith was watching that game very closely. Was he in there? I didn't see him. I don't know if he traveled with the team or not. He probably did.
I didn't see him if he was there and they
Yeah.
showed him. I didn't see it.
I just want you to take a look at that game, Nick Smith, and just be like, now look at that. That looked pretty good. That looked
Well,
pretty good.
that's what I'm saying. You definitely we've got this slow rolling snowball of hope. You know what I mean? And it's like the dream coming together where you play poorly. This story has an arc, and right now it's headed in the right direction. We could have the hero come back and the team gelling at the right time. There's a version of this story that ends epically, and we're
Yeah. Yeah.
moving in that direction. So
Absolutely. Well, hey, don't forget to respect your opponent. You got a tough one coming in. Got Mississippi State on Saturday. Mississippi State, who similarly started the season off poorly, but since then, let's take a look at this. You have a Mississippi State team who is coming off of a win versus number 11 TCU in the Big 12 Challenge. They beat South Carolina at South Carolina, which that's what it is, and also just beat Missouri, and we'll play LSU tomorrow. You're probably talking about a Mississippi State team that is going to be coming off 4 wins in a row, coming into Bud Walton Arena. This Mississippi State is a physical team. They're a defensive team. They're a team that the way they win is they make everything hard. They want to get in a rock fight with you. So hopefully Arkansas is ready for that. But if there's, I think Muss acts like every opponent is amazing. I don't know if you ever listen to this dude preview opponents, but they could win like one game all year. And he'll tell you that they're well coached and they got like a couple of great scorers and all this stuff. And he's not gonna let the team not respect him, and they should respect him because Mississippi State is a team. If you just look at the if you're looking at the SEC standings right now, let's see if I can get over to it. They're only 3-7 in conference, but they've gotten all 3 of those wins in a row just now. They're playing. They're a team that's you're playing a team. You're getting a team in that's playing hot at the right time and needs to win, and you got to get that win.
And like I said, our team is full of young guys, and one part about winning is it's a test in its own right. You know what I mean? Like, can you handle dude? We have, even our games that we've won, we haven't won very big. This is like one of by far our biggest, if not point differential, but of a good team. This is our best beating of a good team. It's like, how do you handle success? You know what I mean? Can you come out and not have to be smacked in the face by reality, or can you come right out and continue this game? And we'll see. Hopefully,
hey, I don't know. What does Jimmy Dykes know? I don't know what Jimmy Dykes knows. Like, he's all like, da, 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 da. And then he says, Saturday against Mississippi State, I am not going to be surprised to see Nick Smith Jr. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? What are you saying to me right now? This dude's not like, he's there, but like Musk keeps saying he hasn't practiced. What do you know, Jimmy Dykes? What do you know? Because you speak this with such confidence, like something.
Well, we'll figure out what he knows. We'll see.
Also,
is
that the game? Is that the game? Because I'll be honest with you. I am gonna be surprised. I don't know. But I guess if I see him for 2 minutes, maybe I'm not gonna be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, well, I would be shocked if it was more than just a few minutes.
Yeah.
Just to get him out there and get his legs stretched. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, I hope I see him. I would love to see him. If I see that dude in warmups on Saturday, I'll be losing my mind. So, all right, man. Well, huge win. Love it. I'm gonna sleep well tonight and feel good about things going forward, man. That was one that's, like I said, if you're going through the schedule, figuring out what you got to do, that was one that you can say, well, that's one we probably don't get. And man, when you get the ones that you have chalked up as probable losses, that just, man, you start to feel a lot better.
Yeah. And like I said, and it's not just we needed a win on the road, a win on the road against a great team. And then all of that put together, and it wasn't just a squeaker. It was like your team looked totally amazing and different. You know what I mean? It's like, there's nothing else you could ask for.
No, so that's it. All right, man. Well, we'll be back on Saturday to see how we do against Mississippi State, and we'll recap that. So thanks everyone for watching. If you just watch this and you want to watch that game and you're not a subscriber or whatever, just hit that subscribe button, and then we recap every game so you can check it out after each game. All right, man. I'll see you on Saturday.
All right, dude. See ya.